What is going on, guys? My name is Feeds, and welcome to Feeds Mindset, episode number 25 with the lady Culpeos. How are you doing? Welcome
Hello.
in.
I'm doing well. How are
I'm
you?
doing well. Thank you so much for coming by. It's kind of
Course.
been somewhat of a short notice in a way. We was just talking about being on the other day. Something I always mention at the very start of my podcast because it does revolve around mental health and people getting out of their comfort zone. Me and you have no idea who each other are, do we?
Oh, I don't know who you are. You're a stranger.
I know, stranger danger. You not like learn your lesson? What the heck?
I know.
But yeah, and I'm very happy that you're on. And it's like I said, it's a point that I make to a lot of people because a lot of people struggle reaching out and making those connections and collaborating. So I just make it a big point because everybody can know and see, if we can do it, so can you. But yeah, really excited to have you on and talk about everything. Obviously, before we really get into it, I kind of always like to get an idea of who the creator is for anybody watching. So, how would you explain Culp as of current day?
I would explain Culp as current day. Just short, sweet, and simple. A consistent stream of inclusion. I know
Yeah.
that sounds so weird, but I don't know. We are goofy. I have dyslexia. I have what's called speech dyslexia, I call it. Like my words are always mixed match. I'm always talking in riddles. I don't know. I like to have fun. I like dad jokes. I love colors. I don't know. Yeah, a consistent stream of inclusion.
Well, that's cool. Would you classify yourself as like a variety streamer, or do you have main games that you play, or?
Yeah, I would say a variety streamer. I think we've played everything underneath the sun. Horror games, we play Valorant, we played Call of Duty, I've played Warhammer. We're currently playing Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, I feel like I'm a jack of all trades at this point. Does that mean I'm a good game player at certain genres? Absolutely not.
Yeah, definitely. For anybody watching, I'm gonna be itching my nose a lot. It's so fucking itchy. I'm sorry, but if I do it, it's nothing personal. And so yeah, so another thing that I really did want to say before we get into it, you are currently going for the respawn recruits. So how has that journey kind of been? How did I want to know how you got into that, because that is that's a very, when you think of recruitment challenges and stuff, it's usually for organizations and it's very kind of like content heavy and your skill and what you can do as a creator. But respawn recruits is kind of like it's a happy medium. Like, yeah, it's about the content creation, but it's also about your support and networking as a creator. So how would you say you got into that and your experience with it so far?
Yeah, so I got into Respawn Recruits last year actually. And at that point I only made it past the 750 cut. And right now we're cutting 100 tomorrow. So I really got into it because I realized that networking is a large aspect of content creation, no matter how much it scares me.
Hmm.
But what I really appreciated about Respawn is as an organization, they were giving their creators, their fans, this opportunity, this platform, this space to show off who they are and give them a safe place to learn how to network. So, I mean, people are coming from all walks of life with this. Some people have been content creating for years upon years. Some people are just starting. And I've learned so much from so many different people. I recently just picked up DaVinci Resolve, and I'm like, my world is so much easier now. Um, so it hasn't been an easy journey, but it's been a fun journey, a very anxiety-inducing journey. But that's kind of how that all came about. And then
Hmm.
this year we decided, go big, go home. The worst that could happen is I don't make it.
Right.
And that's literally the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely. So on that specific note, for all the things that you've accomplished, getting up to the close 100, before or after, whenever that happens, how would you describe the kind of creator you were before when you had got into it versus your mindset and your path that you kind of chose now? Because regardless of however you may feel, statistically, like you said, it was top 750, I think you said before then,
Yeah.
and now it's almost at the top 100, top 150 technically. So there has been a change, clearly, so you
Yes.
kind of guide me through that?
Yeah. So I would say Culpeos, when she first started, she was just giggly. She was like, "Oh, this isn't gonna go off. This is just something we do at night after work to let off steam." I didn't really take anyone's constructive criticism like
Hmm.
seriously. And I didn't take myself seriously at all, in terms of what I could bring to the table, and what I am capable of. And in the past year and a half, thanks to so many people in my life, I really started realizing that I'm capable of so much and I have so much I want to bring to the table. So after a major surgery I had about a year and a half ago, surprisingly, I was like, my life has to change. Like whatever um object, whatever place in the world or place in my life that I am currently in, like I have to take it seriously because we're only on this little journey of life for so long. And again, sorry to sound like a broken record, I feel like I have a lot to offer.
Hmm.
And so basically, going back to the little short speckle of it all, um, I would say me now is let's be proactive. Let's not just sit back and hope that something falls in our lap. Like, go after what you want, be able to take risks and be able to take chances on yourself and other people around you. Um, and be loud. Take up all the space that you want because you deserve it.
Yeah. So it kind of seems like, and you can clarify this differently if you think, but it seems like it went from a hobby to a passion. I mean, would you kind of agree?
Absolutely. And in so many different ways too. I obviously content creation has been like in the back of my mind since I was a wee lad, basically.
Hmm.
I remember watching Achievement Hunter and Rooster Teeth in elementary school, and then watching the slow-mo guys in middle school, and it just building like Tobuscus and all of those great names on YouTube. But it never really occurred to me that that was something I could do for several reasons. So I just thought, "Oh, I'll sit back and watch everybody live what I want to live and not actually go after what I want to live."
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm proud of you, obviously, for the journey that you've came and the realization you've had, as a creator. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we'll get into a lot of different things, but it's kind of a cutthroat world.
Yeah.
You either get people that you genuinely understand they support you, or you get people that they're just trying to take your spot in whatever role there is, whether that's however subs you get, or what kind of position you are in a recruitment challenge, or even where your standing is at on YouTube. And they're like, oh, like she's 100,000 in the world. I could easily be 999,000. Blah 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 blah. So it's
Exactly.
like it does stink the kind of world that we're in. But at the same time, it's good realization and it's a good wake up call. Especially like I said, if it's something that you are passionate about. Um, it speaks volumes because I feel like something that's not really talked about at the end of the day is a lot of bigger creators. A lot of people have different prefaces how they say it because at the end of the day, we are all creators. But clearly, there are more creators that are sustainable, than other people. And so I feel like that's kind of a big topic is like, oh, like these bigger creators don't support me because I'm small. And it's like, no, it's really just because they were small too and they had to get their path to success. And a lot of creators nowadays are leeching off of those big creators saying, please
Yeah.
support me so I can be like you. And that's not how that creator had to come up and be. And I feel like that's something that's not normalized nowadays. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. And I also have to think we need to take big creators off the platforms we've put them on. They are human beings just as much as we are.
Hmm.
They're susceptible to mistakes and fall downs, etc. And you know what? Sometimes they just don't see you. I don't know if anyone has been in a big creator's live stream lately, but those chats, if they're not on slow mode, they're going crazy.
Hmm.
I can only imagine what their email threads look like.
Yeah, definitely. No, I fully understand that. And I think, like I said, it's important because, I kind of feel like, try to figure out like the best way to word this. Like thinking about Culp back then and saying this sentence, I feel like you would have had a different answer. I mean, do you kind of feel that way? I mean, do you feel like you would have been like, you know what, Feeds? No, you're wrong. If they wanted to support me, they would. Like, do you feel like that would have been your answer?
Absolutely, because if you would have told me I had the opportunity to work in Achievement Hunter when I was in middle school, I would have been like gung ho, like what do I need to do, yada yada. I would have easily told you right to your face. Well, I am what makes them big. So
Hmm.
why wouldn't they support me?
Yeah.
And I feel like that mindset is what really kills a lot of networking and connection between the content creator and other content creators, but also content creators and businesses, organizations, etc.
Yeah. So obviously, I definitely do want to get into the gaming and streaming and kind of the background of how you came from. But before I ask that, I usually don't ask a question like this. But since we're on the topic, for creators that kind of need to have that reality check, and a lot of them that you can tell because there are every day, in no derogatory or personal punch type of way, like they're just people you can genuinely tell their intentions are not the same as yours. So what kind of advice would you give to people that may not even be doing it on purpose? They just don't see the big picture, just like you used to. I mean, what would your advice be?
Say lower your expectations and raise your boundaries. And that goes for connections outside of the content creation world. When we put so much emphasis on how people respond to us, then that becomes our identity. That becomes our worth. When you are able to step back and really say, I'm the person who is responsible for my worth and what I do in life, then you're really going to see the bigger picture and realize that the person that you're trying to impress and get their attention, they're trying to do the same thing times 10 with
Yeah.
five other
Yeah.
social medias platforms in their faces while they're trying to do that. So,
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good specific point because I feel like that's kind of the thing. Like a lot of people look up to bigger creators, and I think that's kind of another thing too. Like there is even some creators that do want to be that kind of steps ladder and step stool. There's creators that don't mind using their platform to help you out, but at the same time, like I said, it is a cutthroat world, and they're trying to produce quality content through other brands that they're sponsored by or trying to get sponsored by and stuff, and they can afford to take that time to
yeah.
focus on somebody like you, like in no disrespectful way, but obviously at the end of
Yeah.
the day, like the world revolves around money. Everybody's got bills to pay and families to feed. So if you tell a creator, hey, you have two options, you can either reach out to this brand that's going to succeed you, or you can help the smaller creator and it'll make you feel good. It's
Yeah.
like morally it stinks, but like most people is going to choose the money. And I think it's like I said, most people, it all depends. Me personally, if I was in a situation, like I said, where like my bills are paid, I wouldn't really capitalize on money. Then I would kind of like take a step back and be like, I can afford it. But at the same time, like everybody has different intentions. And some people are smarter with money. You see an extra $400 that you can make and you throw it in stocks. I mean, everybody's different. But I do think that that's a big topic, and I appreciate your opinion on that specifically. But let's finally kind of get into who you are and where you came from. So first off, before streaming and before your name, I do want to talk about your gaming background, and I want you to kind of fast forward to however far back you can remember when you started gaming. Was it an escape? Was it some type of hobby? Was it with your family? And kind of take me roughly from what you can remember when you started to this point currently.
So it all started when I was 4 years old. My father sat me down at a computer and it said, I want you to deconstruct this computer and put it all back together. And you're probably like, a 4 year old? No, no way a father would do that. Well, you're absolutely wrong. My father did that until I could finally deconstruct a computer and put it back together. So I feel like anything technology, anything pop culture, movies, films, games, books, etc., were just like embedded in my DNA when I came out of the womb, unfortunately. I learned how to code when I was 10 years old. I was playing freaking Dungeons and Dragons since I could remember. It was a whole atmosphere. And I wouldn't call it an escape, but it was definitely something I knew and I was comfortable with. So, in a sense, it kind of was an escape from my personal life that I couldn't connect to all the time growing up. And then just kind of fast forwarding until now, I realized I might have a video game addiction. And I just liked how certain video games made me feel, like, being able to create your own character and choose, like, certain choices to create this story, like, it makes someone feel powerful, it makes someone feel in control, but then again, like, in middle school and high school, I had to kind of mature and realize that that's not real life, and I can be in control of my own personal story, I just have to take the steps to do such. And going through video games taught me a lot of great life lessons. Um, but I also had to learn how to step back and erase all of that.
Hmm.
So there was a good chunk of my life where I did step back from video games. I even hated video games. I was like, whoever plays video games, you're a noob and you don't deserve my space and time. Blah blah
Hmm.
blah blah blah. But I started watching anime again and I realized how much the community revolving around anime cosplay, video games, like I don't think I could escape that community no matter how hard I tried. It's
Yeah.
just it's such a diverse, inviting, and welcoming community that who wouldn't want to be a part of it?
Yeah, definitely. So on that specific topic, you got into PC very, very early, than anybody. Was you gaming off of a PC when you was on Dungeons and Dragons? I mean, did you have a lot of console experience, or was it like kind of right out the gate PC?
Um, so a lot of my Dungeons and Dragons was a tabletop. And then when it comes to console wise, I did play a lot of PC games. So like you have your World of Warcraft, you had RuneScape. There was this like browser game called Adventure Quest, and then there was like
Mhm.
Neopets and all that fun stuff. And I was probably talking to 35-year-old men as a 10-year-old saying like you suck, eat dirt, yada yada yada. And then I remember my dad buying me my first NES and then playing like Legends of Zelda, The Legend of Zelda on GameCube, and just going off of that. I think Legend of Zelda definitely awoken a lot of nerdiness in me, and that's when it kind of really all started
Yeah.
fumbling.
And that was actually going to be my next topic, developing, with gaming and everything right before we got into streaming. Was there a specific game that kind of hits harder for you that kind of set the tone for you to be like, okay, this makes me happy, maybe it can make other people happy. I mean, is there something that helped you kind of like mentally understand that world?
Say Legend of Zelda, 100%. I don't know why I loved it. I think it was the horse, Epona, but don't come for me if I said that incorrectly. Um, but The Legend of Zelda, I have played almost every single game in that series. I currently have it on my Nintendo Switch. It is a gorgeous game, and it's like I said, it's what really kind of awoken a lot of nerdiness in me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I mean, I have, somewhat of the same background. I'm not going to get all into it because I've said the long version of it on other podcasts, but like super simple and short, back in 2010, my family had a house fire, and one of the
Mhm.
only things that survived of my stuff was a PlayStation 2, and it was a white one, and it had smoke marks all over it. And all my games were good, of course, because it was enclosed. And Final Fantasy 12 was just a game that I just popped in one day, and I played it and played it. I enjoyed it, and the original game is supposed to be like 2 to 3 weeks worth of content just to get to like the end of it. Fast forward, you can do all the different combat boards and all the hunts and all the questions and everything. It ended up being like a 400 or 500 hour game to like complete it, and so that I played my whole summer. And dealing with when the house fire had happened, like I had just started summer, as like a kid, like the off
Mhm.
season for school and stuff. And so that was a game that really kind of helped me get through that rough time, because I was in baseball at the time, and doing all these little fun kid things that my mom and dad could afford, and they couldn't afford it anymore because their life was in shambles. And so I couldn't talk to my friends anymore, couldn't go hang out with them, or do all these fun things. And so that's all I had. And so there was just one day, like probably like a month after playing the game, there was just one day that I just woke up and I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't really know a whole lot about YouTube. I didn't know anything about streaming until like later on, but YouTube was obviously something that I did roughly know because as a kid I watched YouTube. And I was like, you know what? I was like, if this game can make me feel good and get me, into that zone, what if other people were to see me play that game? And that's what made me want to get into YouTube, which, I had a somewhat strict family, and obviously we didn't have money, so I couldn't afford things.
Mhm.
And then fast forward to when I was 14 years old, my family had finally agreed to get me an Xbox 360 and buy me Xbox Live. and I played GTA, and that was my first game. And I was a stupid, fucking cringy copywriting kid. I would go and I would watch these
Uh,
GTA story modes of a briefcase being underwater, and I'd be like, "That's sick. I bet other people would want to see me, do
mm,
that." And so my head clicked this amazing idea to record the same idea that somebody else had and post it for other people to raise awareness. And so I had
of
this
course.
little stupid fucking video. I was like, "Hi, what's going on, guys? It's Feet. Today we're gonna be on GTA 5 with the briefcase mission." And it just that transpired me, and getting into that, uploading my first video and getting into that world really set the tone for me. Even though it was cringy back then,
Yeah.
it was a surreal world that, if honestly, even though it was cringy, if I could experience it again, I would,
Oh,
100%.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because back then, we don't know any better. We haven't been corrupted per se by
Hmm.
the adult video game world. Like GTA, looking back on it, I'd probably be like, "Ooh, you do know, like, you're shooting up some strippers. Like,
Yeah.
do you connect with that?" Would I stop myself from shooting up strippers? No.
Yeah. Yeah. Older you was
But
like, "Hey, calm down, man." Like younger you was like, "Die, loser."
yes, absolutely. But it's just
So,
like, yeah, I completely understand that 100%.
yeah, but it's sick, and it's cool. That's kind of the topic that I want to give is, I feel like, I guess I would say definitely as of current day. I mean, I have this shouldn't translate into gaming, but it does. I do have ADHD. I don't take like any medicine or anything, but like I'm very thinking about things all the time. And the issue that had happened when I was really young having ADHD is that I lost a lot of my food habits. I did not want to
Mhm.
eat anything. Everything was nasty. Fast forward to this day, I'm one of the pickiest people you'll ever meet. But
Aw.
for whatever reason, I feel like that somehow has affected like my brain, like with gaming too, because there's so many cool games that, like, I'll watch the trailer and like it looks appealing, but then when
Mhm.
I understand the storyline and the things that you can do, like I get very bored, and I'm like, why would I
Yeah.
pay $60 for this? And that like really makes me very difficult to get into new games. Even just like a game, I don't know if you said maybe it was a different game, but there's a new game called Warhaven that has just came out. And I've been playing that a lot, and it's really difficult to kind of hook me on games, and that's a game
Mhm.
that I do enjoy. But it is difficult for me, and I think that it is, regardless, however, it's difficult for anybody. I think that it definitely is important to at least have one game that you genuinely enjoy, and that helps develop your mindset, because a lot of people, especially ones that are not in this world, they think like, oh, like gaming's a waste of time. It does nothing for me or whatever. But gaming really does teach you a lot of life lessons, and it does help you correlate and understand, other people on a different level, people that you'll never meet. And you could be in Walmart one day and they'll say, "Hey, where's the Xbox games at? I know you don't work here." And you would easily be like, "What the fuck is an Xbox game?" So like, even just something simple like that. I mean, I just feel like it is really important that you diversify yourself, and games are kind of just like a fun book. I mean, would you say
Yeah.
the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like there are so many different games out there. Like, I feel like my grandma could find a game and she just makes it her whole personality. It might be Wordle or something, but I mean, those iOS games are just as potent as the console games or the PC games. And I don't think people make that connection because they're
Hmm.
like Candy Crush, Wordle, yada yada. Like, those are I'm sorry, Deborah, you're playing video games.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. And Deborah's definitely sitting there, like, "No, I'm not." And it's like,
Mm,
next, do I want to watch an ad for another life? Yes.
yes. Take my money.
So yeah, so that's sick. I'm glad, and that's kind of the reason why I lead into that topic before I want to talk about your streaming, is I want to understand if there's something that helped mold you and give you an idea. Obviously, I want to talk about creators that maybe have helped you, or just how you got into streaming in general. But I do like to kind of cover that topic, because I like to know how, Legend of Zelda, how that transformed your brain into being like, this could apply to streaming. So before we get into streaming in your background, how did the Legend of Zelda kind of make the mark on you to put you in a different aspect that you weren't in before?
I don't know. It's so hard to explain the ethereal. I would say it's ethereal. The ethereal strength that a game has on somebody, and that sounds so
Mhm.
dramatic, but with The Legend of Zelda, I feel like, 1, I could unfortunately escape from my personal
Mhm.
life, but it was beautiful. Like, you had all of these different people, all of these races, all of these religions, these regions in the world. I was, without knowing, learning about culture and diversity before I even knew the definition of those words.
Yeah.
And while the main character isn't someone I can not necessarily like relate to,
Mhm.
or even Zelda herself, like, I feel like there were so many characters that had backgrounds that I was like, "Hey, I'm going through the same thing," or, "Hey, they look like me," or, "Hey, they sound like me," or, "Hey, they act like me," and I could just relate to that, and I didn't watch a lot of TV. I watched a lot of movies, and I feel like movies were a lot more stereotypical than video games could be. And so being able to dive headfirst into a video game like Legend of Zelda with gorgeous graphics, gorgeous music, and being able to relate to that and put myself in that game, whereas I couldn't do that with film, that's really what molded me to be like, this is it. Like, this is my passion. This is my dream, and I want other people to feel the same way. Like, I want someone to be able to look at a video game or look at their screens, watch somebody playing a video game and be like, "Hey, I feel seen, I feel heard, and I'm not alone."
Yeah. No, definitely. I understand. And I think the kind of the factor that nobody really ever talks about, like, obviously, like, yeah, whatever game that you're invested in is important, but I
Mhm.
feel like it speaks volumes when you have a game with such a nice soundtrack, and
Yes.
you're playing the game, and like your mind is thinking of, this is what I'm going to do next, I have to do this, I have to do that, and then you just have all this like fluorescent like music just
Yeah.
like trickling in the background and stuff. And that was definitely Final Fantasy for me, because there's a lot
Yes.
of times where I was like stuck on Final Fantasy, and I'd sit there and have to like pause the game and fucking understand what's going on, and then I just have the wonderful music, and
Yeah.
it's kind of just like lo-fi music, like a lot of people tune
Yeah.
it on when they're studying and doing whatever they need to do. It's kind of the same aspect in gaming. That's a way that we study, is just by listening to the background music, so we can further understand how to progress in the game. So
Absolutely.
I definitely think that that's a really important factor. And I don't feel like it's not really, there's no like awareness factor. I just don't feel like people give it as much respect. I
Absolutely.
feel like that's kind of like the slept on thing in games. Would you say the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. There's been studies that show that certain sound waves and wavelengths alter our brain chemistry. I mean, people are now just starting to listen to what's called a binaural beat, when they go to sleep, when they study, when they work, etc., because it alters our brain and how it's able to function. People listen to brown noise or white noise when they go to sleep, and that's the same chemistry that you would have when you play a certain game, and it's you're walking into the arena and all of a sudden you hear this loud bass that just fills your chest, and you're like, I'm ready for war. Like, I'm fighting these pixel men, but honestly, if somebody busted through my door right now, like, let's go. I'm gonna like throw my cup at you
Yeah.
and it's gonna be 100 HP.
That's funny. Don't forget the shields. But yeah, so
Yes.
it's it's very important. It's a big factor, and like I said, I do think it's kind of a slept on thing. So I kind of want to start taking into your streaming now. I mean, we kind of understand your mindset a bit, and how you've got into it, and understanding kind of the world that is. So how did you get into streaming? Was there somebody that helped you get into it? Did you just tap into it on your own? And how did that end up being something that you wanted to make a career, or just a passion in general?
So when it came to streaming, I didn't really have like a straightforward reason why I got into it. My friend Gamer Boy Bruce, who he used to stream, he is still active and he's an active mod of mine. He used to stream religiously, and it was always so fun to just sit and watch him, especially when I was having a hard day. I remember he was getting up to a follower milestone, and I used to work at a gym, I still do, but I would make everyone who checked in go follow him on Twitch. I was like, you're gonna follow him and you're gonna like it. And but then I saw people still sticking by or sticking around and
Mhm.
watching him and also having a good time. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, why am I not doing that? I'm such a extroverted introvert, I can sit here in my PJs looking at 2 to 3 screens with a camera pointed at me with cool, funky lights in the background and scream at the top of my lungs while I play horror games, and people are gonna love it, or they might not love it. But hey, like, feedback is feedback. You're watching me still, even if you're criticizing me. So
Mm,
who's the real loser here?
yeah.
But he was like the biggest avenue for me. Again, why I really stuck with it, I'm not sure. But that's kind of where I am now. I've had so many big creators that I look up to and still watch and still follow, and I'm still like, dang, I want to be you when I grow up, man. Like, but yeah, that's kind of the spiel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of cool, especially when you get to the point where you're comfortable showing your face on camera and getting past that. Everybody's different about it. Everybody takes it a lot more, and I feel like for people that are artistic or they're really vibrant and like cute things and cool colors and stuff, I think streaming is kind of a way to express your artistry, because you have like your lights in the background and stuff, and all your fun things, and that's kind of another way of you kind of being able to be yourself. So I think that's kind of a cool topic, and I feel like a lot of them, maybe that makes them feel safer that they have
Yeah.
something like that. How do you feel about that?
Oh, absolutely. And I like completely resonate with you when you're like, I have ADHD. I'm not diagnosed. I just know something's going wrong in my head. But I can guarantee you this room has been changed at least a bajillion times in the past 6 months. And it's because I, one, am always inspired, and I treat it like my canvas.
Mm,
So when you have an artist who is constantly inspired, they're painting all these different things. Whereas my stream room, I can be crazy and funky. Same with my stream aesthetics. I thankfully have solidified a panel and some overlays that I've stuck with for a hot minute. But you can ask anyone in my community. When I first started streaming, my stuff would change like every single week because I was just trying to figure out what my expression was. Like, what colors did I want to be associated with? What icons did I want to be associated with? And it's almost like Final Fantasy. Like, you get to
mm,
customize your character. You get to make this identity for you. This is what people are gonna see and pair you with. And that's so important, but it's so liberating as well because you don't have constraints. Like, if I wanted to change these colors to orange and change my whole color scheme and change my name, like, there's that. Like, I have that freedom. And with the world we live in now, I feel like labels they're everywhere. Like, you
mm,
can't be A without being B, or you can't be
right.
C without being whatever. And when it comes to like figuring out what your backdrop is going to be, figuring out what your colors are going to be, what your alert sounds are going to be, that gives somebody a lot of power and a lot of liberty, and you can step away from reality and be like, this is me, this is how I want to be associated.
Yeah, and I think it's an important topic too, because it's not a bad thing at all if gaming or streaming is an escape for you. That's not a bad
Yeah,
thing at all, because you're just trying to get through life, and everybody has to function different ways.
most definitely.
But I feel like when you actually get into streaming, you get your camera, you start understanding these backgrounds, you get your stream kit, you got all these funky things going on,
Mm,
and all this cool profile. I feel like it kind of does. It's really dumb because all your parents tell you when you grow up. Well, I guess yours not, because yours made you fucking build a PC at 4 years old. So all the normal children out there that that get into gaming, they're all like, stay away from people, don't connect with them, don't tell them
hmm.
where you are, don't tell them what you do, don't tell them where you live, and don't connect with strangers. And it really kind of resonates, because a lot of people that have social anxiety or other
Yes.
factors going on with them, being able to electronically be yourself, and you have all these different avenues of ways that you can make your face cam look cool,
Hmm.
and all your socials and all your designs and stuff, and the way that you approach things, and your Discord servers and your YouTube channel, and just your organization of things. I feel like that's a way that people kind of mature, and I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like in a really, really respectful way, that if they didn't have that, I don't feel like they not really even would be the person that they are now, but I feel like some people has kind of grown up being
Oh
on this
yeah.
space. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And you can take me as an example. If you were to compare my design, my identity from when I first started streaming to now, it was so chaotic and it was so like flashy and like, hey me everyone, look at me. I don't know what I'm putting in this Twitch panel, but yeah, 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 yeah. And now
Hmm.
it's like I know who I want to be. It change? Will it evolve? Absolutely. But this is who I am. This is what I want to bring to the table. Take it or leave it. That's okay. And it's so cool to see how creative people actually get because there are your mature, flashy people, and that's okay.
Hmm.
But it works for them if that makes sense. It's
Right.
not, it's intentional, I should say. So 100% agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to be able to get your take and stuff on that. I don't know. I just felt like there could possibly be somebody that's watching that goes through that.
Mhm.
So I did want to bring that up because I think that's something I kind of do want to normalize because it's okay to feel
Yeah.
that way. And if that's the way that you have to show who you are, I think that's a cool thing. So before we get into a couple more topics and wrap it up here, I do want to obviously get into where your branding came from and how you got your name. So can you explain to everybody kind of how that happened?
Oh my goodness. So my first ever username was Zombies Bite. I don't know where that came from. I don't know. I don't understand where my brain was, but I had like the Gmail. I had everything was Zombies Bite. And I realized that's not cool. This isn't, you know, 2008 Call of Duty. I'm not playing zombies until 3 o'clock in the morning, which sometimes I wish I still did. Regardless, I realized that doesn't really have any attributes contributing to me. And I really, it's such a hard question
Hmm.
because I wish I could tell you like the pinpoint time in my life. I was like, I'm Culpeos. Um, but Culpeos is an animal. It's in the fox world, but it is more closely related to a coyote and a
Hmm.
wolf than an actual like your typical red fox. So
Right.
for me, I love foxes. I think the lore behind like a kitsune and a fox and other cultures is so amazing, and I identify with it completely. But I also like the fact that it didn't really completely fit into the actual genre of
Right.
a fox. So you had like the strength and you had the demeanor of a quick coyote or a strong wolf. And so when I learned about a Culpio, I was like, that's it. That's me. Also, if anybody remembers DeviantArt, one of my most favorite creators on DeviantArt was named Culpeos. And they had a sub account called Vulpes, which is Latin for
Hmm.
fox. So that gets into a whole nother section of my love for language and how
Yeah.
diverse it is. So really that's where the name came from.
Yeah.
And I have what's called the Skulk Society. It used to be called the Pup Squad because baby foxes are called pups. But Skulk Society, Skulk is a name for a group of foxes. And I love reading and watching about foxes and how they maneuver. They're kind of like the tiger of the dog and cat world, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
And love it. Love it.
Gotcha. So you're the Animal Planet of streaming. I understand.
Yeah, yep,
Um,
that's me. Hello.
That's yeah, no, that's sick. That's awesome. I think that's a really cool way to resonate it. And I bring up this specific topic all the time because there's a lot of people out there that don't really have a reasoning for their name, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it really isn't. It really doesn't matter. But like to me personally, that's the story that I like to hear. I don't like to hear
Yes.
how you got to 1 million subs. I don't like to hear all the videos that you did all every year and stuff. I like to know how as a kid or a young adult or a teenager or whatever, how you developed your name and then you turned that branding into, now like I am an aspiring creator who is an idol to thousands of people across the world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the important factor. And there's a lot of people that like I said, if you don't care about it, I mean, it is what it is, no big deal. But at the same time, I do kind of feel like it is important because it makes you just a little bit more proud. Because like, yeah,
Absolutely.
you're proud of all your accomplishments. You finally got to where you want to be, but like it's such it is stupid, but it's not at the same time because it's not your government name. And
Yeah.
gaming it all resonates around your alias, and this is
Mhm.
what people call me, so they don't know who I really am. And I think there's a beautiful way of interpreting that to your streaming and gaming career, to getting to where you want to be, because you didn't have to get there
Mhm.
with anything that applied to you, your government name or social security stuff or anything like that. None of your personal assets affected you getting into streaming, and you kind
Yeah.
of got to create this fake persona and make it into something surreal that still protected you.
Yeah.
And it's really just kind of like a business, it's a business that protects you, and something you get into, and that it's always going to be there for you, and it's a safe space for you. And having an alias like that, I do think that it's important for people. And again, I'm going to say it a lot because that's just how I interpret things. But if it doesn't matter to you, it doesn't matter to you. But I enjoy the aspects in life of something that is a safe space, and something that was a genuine like feel for somebody. Just like an example, the very last episode we just had, Monument, that was on,
Mhm.
that was not Monument. I can't remember specifically the pronunciation that he said, but it was a word that his grandpa had always called him, and his
Oh.
grandpa ended up passing away, and so he kept that name as honor to him. And I just think stuff like that is so sick. And I told him in the podcast, because I told him, I was like, man, I was like, I don't preach religion. I said, but I am a godly man, and I feel like at this time I want to tell you that he's proud of you. And he was got emotional and stuff, and I get it. I fully understand, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is because something stupid and simple as your name could make the biggest impact on your life. And
Absolutely.
I hope that I can raise awareness to creators, because it may seem dumb now, but if you get to any point of credibility where you finally start seeing success in your career, I feel like that's when it's going to hit you and be like, damn, like this is me, this is Feeds, this is Culp, whatever. So I do think that those things are important. So two more topics on top of streaming that I did kind of want to cover over. The first thing, I'm always going to phrase this way every single time, because it's who I am, and I have to create a safe space for it, and that's for the women community. Women community clearly are always going to have it harder. There's always going to be tough struggles and stuff, but at the end of the day, they're just like everybody else, obviously. But a thing that kind of gets slept on and nobody really talks about it is the women creators that see everything that happens inside of that world, and they get demoralized, and they're like, oh, what are people going to think of me? What are they going to say? Hate raids and all this nasty stuff of weirdos and stuff online. So what advice would you give to women creators that want to create a
Ooh.
persona and to get into streaming and get into gaming and start building themselves, but they're scared because they're afraid of what's going to come?
I would sum it down to have patience, and don't have patience with the outside world, have patience within yourself. I can't even begin to describe so much swishy swash. This is a kiddie way of putting it.
Hmm.
But all the swish swash I encountered as a content creator, not even just a streamer, but as a content creator and a woman in this world, this technology world. Um, one moment you're too loud, you're too boisterous. Yes, the other second is you're too shy, you're too quiet, or you're too colorful, but you're wearing all black, like liven it up, smile, yada yada. Have patience, because it's going to be one day you are going to find your voice, and you're going to be so confident, and you're going to turn on that camera, or you're going to post the most rad piece of art, and because of who you are, which is out of your control, um, there is going to be somebody or something out there that is going to also wake up and be like, you're having a good day. No, thank you. No, you're not. And you're going to want to crawl up inside of yourself and double double think everything, and just have patience. I'm not going to say have confidence, but at least fake confidence until you can find confidence in even the smallest speck of the content you create. Because when you build that foundation for yourself, there is no man, woman, thing, organization, business, idea, cultural oppression, whatever you want to call it, that is going to be able to knock you down. Will you have your days where you doubt yourself? Yes, but you're doubting yourself. You're not doubting yourself because of other people. You're putting out a picture or a video and you're like, oh, I could do better. That's where your doubt should come from. But it is such a sit down, get back up, sit down, get back up ordeal that patience is unfortunately such a virtue to have. Um, and just keeping an open mind with yourself in the world you live in, because just like you're evolving, the world is also evolving, and there are, while there may be one bad person out there, there's also 10 more good people who are wanting to support you and see you for who you are. And just have patience. It will come. It will come. Your time will come. Your day will come. And the people will come to you and want to watch you and see you.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's good advice for them to be able to take it. And I know that when I ask these, it's kind of harder, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know, obviously, like I said, being on this podcast, I mean, I'm not a woman, you know, I don't experience these things, but I can definitely, you know, understand, you know, that you guys live in something far more difficult than we ever will. So that's kind of why I want to always bring it to light, because we always talk about how difficult it is, and it's always from the woman's aspect, which respectfully it should, but it's never normalized of like why and what can we do to try to help it. It's always that it's going to be harder for us and things are tough, but you know, if there's a way that I can spread light with creators like yourself or other women that's been on here to kind of help that, and advice and opinions that they have, I think that's kind of the more important topic. Is
Absolutely.
as unfortunate as it may sound, and if it is a really bad space, you know, that is awful, but at the same time it's also what you make of it. And so that's why I think collaborating and networking and being with other creators that want to see you grow, and specifically for women, you know, kind of having your own women community and other ladies that deal with the same thing, I think that it's just important as men doing those things, you know, as other men
Absolutely.
and other dudes playing, and the homies and the boys and stuff, you know, it's all the same thing. Having a little girls night and stuff could change somebody's, you know, whole week, you know, just a simple girls' night, chilling, not having to deal with men or whatever. Like, I get it. Like, I understand. It's different. I get it. So on that topic, the last hard question that I want to ask is on specifically for a topic for women creators that struggle with collaborating and struggle with networking. And okay, you know, I'm not worried about what they're going to say about me or my looks or my gameplay, but I'm afraid to start streaming because I don't think nobody's going to watch. I don't have no friends to play with. I don't know who I can reach out to. You know, what advice would you give them to try to help alleviate that pressure off them?
That's so hard, like you said, to answer, because I was that girl when I first started streaming. I don't have any real life friends. That sounds so pathetic, but I don't have any
I
like,
don't either. It's fine.
yeah,
It's fine. I'm with you.
other than my animals and my partner, I don't have any real outside support system. And so when you make the decision like, hey, I think I might want to play around with streaming or content creation, maybe try to do it offline first. You know,
Mm,
do a test run, see how you like it. And the hard truth is it's not for everybody. It really isn't. And I'm not saying that to deter anybody. I'm saying that as there is also an unspoken pressure that content creators, whether you be a VTuber or an artist, like, or a musician, like, they have to stream to be considered an actual content creator. I've seen so many beautiful women and just any kind of creator do videos or TikToks or GIFs or video. I said videos. I'm sorry, pictures, etc. And I would 100% consider them one of the best content creators I've ever seen. But going back to, hey, I think I want to stream, but I don't have any, like, I don't have any leverage. I don't have any foot in the sand,
right.
etc. Watch videos, like, teach yourself. And what comes about that is you're going to develop a sense of empowerment because, and this isn't to dog anybody that had support getting up into their streaming community or
Mm-hmm.
career, you're going to be able to fall back on yourself to say, hey, I don't have any viewers right now, but I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I'm digging this music. I'm having great time on this horror game or Final Fantasy or Legend of Zelda or Wordle. I mean,
Yeah.
do it for you, and then find your community, find your voice, find your passion, why you are here and why you want this platform and space, and then build baby steps. 100%. I didn't really start to quote unquote blow up until I came back off of a very large hiatus a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a quick luck kind of ordeal. I posted a video from Baldur's Gate on TikTok and it blew up. Or I came back and started playing Baldur's Gate during the closed beta and people were like, "Oh, she's cool, yada yada." It's such a luck of the draw kind of thing that you have to take baby steps and keep at it and do it for yourself. And then if you think this is something you want to continue in, find your whys, your vision, and then build it off of that. But always rely on yourself. Have confidence in yourself first. Be able to lean back on yourself, because if you do come up about that one night and you have 0 viewers or no one's looked at or liked your video, like, you can still be like, hey, I'm still proud of myself because I freaking did that. I freaking
Mm-hmm.
made that. That's all me. That's
Yeah.
nobody else.
So I
So
do want to kind of turn the question a little bit more and just kind of want to add on to one more thing for those that are listening. Networking. Why is networking important, especially as a women creator? How can you overcome it to connect with other ladies or just creators in general? But I do kind of want to, for the women community, because like I said, we do preach about how it is tougher and stuff. So I do think that it is kind of important that they get their own kind of thing for them. I mean,
Mhm.
so, just your advice on that.
When it comes to networking as a woman, it is scary, like you said, and I will not downplay that at all. It's even scarier when you try to reach out to other women because unfortunately there's such a stigma around pitting women against each other. For whatever reason, we see each other as competition, but it's more of a shoot your shot and be okay with failing because it is, again, a luck of the draw. Get on Twitter. That has been my biggest avenue when it comes to networking that I didn't realize. I was so scared of Twitter. I was like, why is this platform here? I don't understand it. People can only make tweets for like what, 150 characters?
Mm-hmm.
Why is anybody going to care about what I have to say? Um, but it came down to it, like, there were so many amazing women on Twitter that I knew nothing about because I stuck with Twitch, and hopefully I'll find somebody to raid. Um, but get out there, like, it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah.
But maybe start with the analytics. Find tags that work best for you, and if you see a spike of impressions, go into that tag, like somebody else's thing, follow them. I feel like a big thing for female content creators to network is realizing while you want them to reach out to you, they're probably just as scared as you are.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take. If you want, you also have to give. Um, but also it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to be afraid that you're going to do this and you're going to give and there's nothing to be given back. And I think it just goes back to what we talked about with the big creators. Nobody owes you anything, but also realize that you were worth it. And yeah, I would say Twitter was my biggest upbringing when it came to networking.
Definitely.
I think there's like groups and stuff that people can
Mm-hmm.
join.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like the worst person to ask, but I'm still learning about it all. It's so
Yeah, I think
crazy.
it's good advice, and I do hope that if there is somebody watching or some lady or whatever you identify as, if you have issues, I hope that something like that does help you for sure. Before we wrap up on everything, there is one more question I usually do ask everybody, specifically for you. I always ask everybody off stream or off camera, technically not stream, but like off recording. Is there anything that you do want to talk about? Anything that you're passionate about? And you talked about mental health a little bit. That was kind of the
Yeah.
basic, the most basic thing that you could say that you're really passionate about without really getting into specifics. And so, on the topic of having burnouts and wanting to stream and not feeling like you're good enough, not feeling like nobody's watching, you're dealing with mental health, you have all these things going on in your life, and I want to stream as an escape, but I also don't really feel like it anyways because I'm just so upset with everything and I'm depressed. What advice would you give for them to try to bounce back and understand the impact that they make?
I would say take that break. And if that break turns into 3 months, so be it. You have to take care of yourself before you can put out the best content. You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of your community. And just know that you come before anything else. The camera will still be there. Your webcam, your webcam, you're in your camera. Your community will still be there. Twitter will still be there. Put the phone down. Stop checking your notifications. Take a breath. Go do something that you are passionate about and build back up that steam. If video gaming is truly what builds steam for you, but you are burnt out, try doing offline games. Like try watching how-to videos on how to do a certain transition, etc. If you're still not feeling it, literally lock your stream door to your office or to your room and take a breath. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're staying like satisfied when it comes to your hunger. Your health comes before anything else, because if you do not take care of what's up here or right here, you're not going to be able to sit in front of the camera and put on a healthy smile and say, hey guys, welcome to the stream. This is what we're playing. Let's get at it. It simply comes down to that. Burnout is such a situational thing. If you have to take the break, take the break. It's really that simple, unfortunately. I just came back. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. I was just going to say, so like on that topic, and I'll definitely let you speak about what you was just about to say, but I do want to kind of add on to that question too, about reaching out to people when you're having issues and you're
Yes.
wanting that outlet or just that somebody to talk to, because a lot of people feel like they're a burden and nobody wants to hear them. But you was talking about how you was just coming back from something, so elaborate on that before, of course.
Yeah, no, you're great. I think outreach is the hardest part about mental illness. It's not doing the meditation, it's not sleeping in and getting that extra couple hours of rest. It's reaching out and admitting and taking accountability for your feelings and saying, "Hey, I'm not good. Please help." And I want to, before I go any further, let
Mhm.
anybody who's listening know that it's okay not to be okay. That does not make you any lesser of a human being. That does not make anybody on this earth better than you are. No matter what you are going through, it is valid and it deserves a space to be talked about. So if you're lacking resources, it's unfortunately the resources are out there. Nobody's being proactive about
Yeah.
them. They're online. You can easily look up suicidal hotline, depression hotline. I just got done doing a charity stream for Hope for the Day, and their website is full of resources, whether it comes to people needing food, people needing shelter, housing. The town I live in, they have a whole community center for teenagers who have been sex trafficked. That's a horrible word to try and say.
I'm listening and
And they give resources. They have housing for teenagers who have personally taken the responsibility to get themselves out of the situations they are in. The thing of it is legislation.
you got
Also,
this.
if the
I believe in you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just spit. I don't know if the camera caught that.
Thanks.
Legislation is not allowing that to be talked about. Like, I am learning so much, and I have been in the mental health field for so freaking long. I mean, it's so crazy. So anybody who even takes the step of saying, I'm not okay, and admitting that for themselves, you're already doing 10 times better than
Most
Like,
everybody does.
yes, I need you to give yourself credit
Yeah.
because that's the first step. The second step is get on that little phone, look up resources. They're there. There are completely anonymous resources that can help you out. Um, and yeah, that also goes for our veterans who might be in the gaming community. There are so many unspoken resources for you guys, and it's going to make me cry, but it breaks my
Yeah.
heart that you guys sit in silence every single day and nobody's paying attention to you. Nobody's taking you guys seriously. And that
Definitely.
pisses me off.
Yeah, definitely. The awareness does need to be raised for sure. It is a sad thing, but at the same time, it's more important that it is talked about rather than just continuing to let them be silent. Because I mean, even if for whatever reason, if one of them ends up watching this podcast and that
Yeah.
helps you, and if you're going through something, like I do want you to get that help and make that, regardless. It doesn't matter how old you are, what
Mhm.
experiences you've gone through, whether you feel like you shouldn't have those feelings because you should be old enough or educated enough, it doesn't matter. Everybody goes through things at different point in their lives. So before we did it off here, I did want you to pick back up on the topic that you was talking about before I cut you off a little bit. You said that you just got back from a mental break, is what you said.
Oh my
Do
goodness,
you
my
remember that?
brain completely just
No, you're good.
erased what I was gonna say. But yeah, I personally got back from a hiatus because I was burnt out. My partner was always like, like get back into it. It'll once you get back into it, it'll be like riding a bike. And I was like, no, I literally can't sit in front of a camera without feeling like absolute dog shite. Like
Mm,
and I wasn't going through a lot in my life either. And in my brain, that meant, well, what excuses do you have? There's people who are streaming and are big content creators and are probably going through 10 times worse than what you're going through right now. And they're doing the work, they're doing it. And I just basically self-sabotaged myself into a black hole. Um, but I'm so grateful that I took that hiatus because I came back stronger than ever. And I've been able to self-soothe and I've been able to self-regulate a lot better than what I was doing. I was running myself so dry and so thin that my content creation was going into the dirt with me. And
yeah.
it wasn't doing anybody any good.
Yeah, definitely 100%. I think, everything that you spoke here obviously is really good advice. I hope that if anybody's listening that it applies to, or just to educate yourself in general, it's always good to understand different things that people go through. So before we end off on everything here, is there anything that you have coming up that you're excited about and want to share with everybody?
So a lot of my community knows that we did just completely wipe our milestones out of the water when it came to our charity stream yesterday. So we have a lot of content coming up, whether it be until failure stream, which I've never done. So not a 12-hour stream, not a 24-hour stream. It's until I literally can't breathe. I'm joking.
Mm,
I won't get that far. But other than those milestones, we have also been partnering with a company called Aru Entertainment, and they are the first ever company in the United States to bring what's called the Omnideck to the streaming platforms. And
nice.
we have been very grateful to be the very first streamer, which it's been unspoken, unfortunately, because we're not those hot shots.
Right.
We were the very first ever streamer to stream on the Omnideck, which is used for military training in
Hmm.
Sweden. Um, but I am hoping, and I can't say it too much,
Yeah.
but we will be pairing with them in the future as well. That could potentially result in a front page on Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
So
sick. Yeah, that'd be
yeah.
cool. I'm definitely excited for it. It sounds like a lot of cool plans, and the important thing is always just that you have something coming up and something that
Mhm.
not only is coming up for you but also involves your community. So that's amazing. Shout out to anybody that does charity streams and stuff. It's an amazing what those creators can do and the impacts that they make. So Colt, before we end off on here, is there any last words you'd want to say for anybody listening?
Stay safe, stay sane out there. It's a scary world, but stay hydrated and I hope you guys have a wonderful life. You are worthy of all the space that you take and please don't let anybody dim your shine ever
Yeah.
because you're worth it.
Definitely. I feel like your word absolutely that you use. I just want to be like absolutely like put it on the screen.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but Culp, I do genuinely appreciate your time. It's been
Of
awesome
course.
being able to be here today with you and get your takes. So thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you, man. You have created an awesome platform, and this community in this world is very grateful for you.
Of course, I appreciate it. It does mean a lot for sure. But yeah, for anybody watching, go check Culp out. Her stuff is right below her head. In the description is her links and everything for her stuff. It's below, not
Oh,
above, below. There you go. So the links and everything are down below. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching. This has been episode 25 of Feeds Mindset. Hope you guys really enjoyed. Check her out again. My name is Feeds, and I'm out, guys.